Hi, today I'm with Lynn Rogoff. We're at NYIT, the International Technology School in the middle of New York City. And she's an associate professor of web design and basically game design. You have some really cool things like this elephant game that you have going on. Tell us about that.
Well, we have a series of games that highlight games for VR, and now we're moving into AR. We did it for the tablet and the web and mobile, and now we're moving into augmented and virtual reality. And it features 36 endangered animals on 6 continents. And the one that we chose to do launch for VR is on the elephant in the savannas of Africa, who are highly endangered and are being slaughtered daily by poachers. So we wanted people to have an experience of what it was like to be poached and to have the experience and to be sought after and have your habitat decimated. And we wanted people to feel the experience of what it was to save them animal, and then to finally actually through social media find like-kind fellow travelers who would be interested in helping save the animals for real.
As a professor, what do you teach your students?
Well, I teach game design, and I teach business communications and technical communications.
And why is this something that you got into in the first place?
Well, I was in the game design business in the 90s, and I did a game series called Amerikids, and we did it about finding about kids in American history who had done heroic deeds or had contributed to social causes. And then we switched now to the social cause itself. So when AR and VR and the mobile and internet came about, we decided that the social aspect could be advanced more through games that have worked on social problems.
And how does someone go about doing something like this? I know I always talk to people who want to get into game design. They really think that would be the coolest of the cool. But how do you start?
Well, I had a training in the traditional media, in television and film and theater, and I went to graduate school in directing. So when I started getting involved in games in the 90s and learned that there were, at that time, CD-ROM games, I went back to school. I studied game design and the business of game industry. And so I made a prototype, and then we were part of a grant from Oracle Corporation to prototype it. And at that time, the industry was very a frontier industry, and they needed content. And so a lot of corporations did not want to miss being in the game business, interactive game business. And so we were lucky enough to that product be acquired by McGraw-Hill. Skip to the 2016, we got involved with virtual reality because we felt the same thing, that it was a pioneer time, and that it was better to learn to be I particularly was interested in pioneer media, where you have a chance to move in and do something meaningful before the medium becomes too mature.
So how did you get involved just in general in augmented reality?
Well, augmented and virtual reality. I started working we did the game for the web and we did it for mobile. And at that time, we were working with a team, and someone from the team knew some people who had access to the Oculus. And this was before Facebook bought it. And we went over to their team and we saw the game on Oculus. And we said, wow. For me, it fit perfectly into the idea of having a virtual experience of what it felt like to be an endangered animal. And you got a much more immersive experience in VR. Because you're in the middle of this habitat and you're being poached and shot at, and you're losing your mother elephant.
You're one of the animals.
You're actually experiencing it from the animal's point of view, yeah. So rather than going and killing animals, which most games are about, killing animals. In my game, you have to save the animal and lure him to a conservation center.
And when people ask you, I hate to say this, does this kind of thing make money?
Well, right now we feel that there is a market, a small market for the educational games. educational content has become somewhat of a market. How long or how wide or how big that market is going to be, we don't know yet. But we feel that there's a couple of markets. There's a commercial market and then there's educational market.
So a lot of students, I mean, as a professor, you teach a lot of students how to do this kind of thing. Do they ask you, how the heck am I going to make a living on this?
Well, I think if you learn the skills and master these skills, whether it's Unity or virtual reality, Android or Oculus, if you are able to devote the time and the attention that it requires to learn this technology, you can have a career, because this a field that is starting to develop. A lot of people want their companies, whether it's a car company or a real estate company or a medical company, they all want to be on virtual reality because it's a way to educate their customers or educate their fellow doctors or have an experience without actually driving a car or operating on somebody without actually having to do it.
And what is your URL for your site for Green Kids?
Well, we're on Amerikids, which is my company, AMERIKIDS, and there you can see our .com, and you can see our games, and we have a panda game, we have a California conda game, and we have an elephant game.
Thank you so much.
All right.